Good morning, everyone. This is the Do Now for 6.5.5, and this is number 11. And you're given a scenario where you have two different creatures and you want to compare their speed. So you're given a graph of the speed of a mouse, and you're given a word description for the speed of a gecko. And your directions are to write a rule for each, and they want you to compare the domain, the range, compare the slope, and the y-intercepts for both of these creatures. So again, you're given this, which is m of t, and I've gone ahead and I've graphed the g of t based on the information that the gecko is traveling at a speed of 19 meters for every 1 minute. And again, that's given information. So I also set up the rule. M of t equals 37.5 t, and g of t equals 19 t. Okay, where did this come from, the 37.5 t? Well, if you take a look at m of t, you could see that in there's 300 meters in 8 minutes, 300 meters in 8 minutes. And so if you divide that, that's where I got the 37.5 t from. And again, the g of t is given 19 meters every 1 minute. Okay, so let's take a look at the graph and let's see if we can answer the other questions. And again, you do need to graph this, my friends, so please make sure that that we get the graph drawn accurately. So just multiply 19 times 6, and you get 114. Okay, so at 6, this should be 114. And again, this is your estimating because those are the intervals that are given. The y interval is going up by 50s, and the x interval is going up by 1s. Okay. Now you're asked to do a little comparison of their domain and ranges. If you look at the mouse, which is m of t, this is a mouse. What is his domain? Well, given this information, the mouse goes from 0 up until 8 minutes. Okay, why can't I assume that this goes on to infinity? Well, think about how a mouse moves. A mouse is going to continue for a certain speed, but then they stop, and they'll have something to eat or they'll turn around. So they have little bursts of speed. This is not something that is like a car that can maintain it to infinity. So again, we're going to go, given the graph, from 0 to 8 minutes. The domain is your x information. And the range goes from 0 to 300, because that's the highest information I have based on the given graph. G of t, well, in the verbal description, they tell us that the gecko travels for 6 minutes. And so we go from 0 to 6. Since we're including the endpoints, and I'm using interval notation, that is what that should look like. The domain is where x is between 0 and 6. What about the range of the gecko? Well, the gecko starts at a distance of 0, and he goes to 114. And again, where does 114 come from? If you take the 19, multiply it by 6, because the verbal description says the gecko travels for 6 seconds. Lastly, they want us to compare the slope and the y-intercept. So let's do that last comparison. M of t's slope is almost double g of t, and we can see it right here. So double 19 would be 38, so it's 37.5. We're pretty close to double. And both of the y-intercepts start at 0. And again, you can see that also. So they share the y-intercept in common. Hope that helps. We're going to go over the classwork for 6.5.5 in my next video.